Welcome to the Flashing Badger podcast. My name's Gordon. I'm joined again by my friends.
I'm Mike.
Fitz.
Wegs.
And we find ourselves deep in the world of the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, playing the only war RPG from Fantasy Flight and Cubicle 7 Games. Please join us.
Flashing Badger, Flashing Badger, alright. Flashing Badger.
We're playing the 11th hour scenario in the Only War RPG. I think we're up to the 4th session or so. We've been having a good time. The guys here are playing 3 brave Imperial soldiers running across an orc-infested jungle moon to try and escape a looming Imperial bombardment. Last episode, just before we finished, they had just made their way to a camp, an Imperial supply camp, formerly the picture of logistical order and now an absolute mess in the middle of the swamp. Camp Blackfen has fallen into complete madness and disarray, and the team of intrepid adventurers, along with a Imperial Commissar, a few high-ranking Imperial officers and others, have just made their way ashore. Would you like to very quickly, Mike, remind me your character's name?
My character is Yelena Ramirez. She's not very social, she's a great fighter, very athletic, but she just doesn't have time for the politics and the rank structure in the Astra Militarum.
And Wegs?
I am Gordon Cole, weapons specialist, Imperial lawman by training, Katachani at heart, and all-round fierce defender of Imperial justice.
And now, last but very much not least, is my very favourite Ogrin in a very fancy hat. Fitz, would you like to explain who Shanadar is and how he came to have a hat?
Shanadar! No, Shanadar is the humongous with Labrador-like qualities that is endeared himself and loves his entire combat crew. He also, at this point in time, has a very fancy hat, which he traded a dead orc's body for from a high-ranking military official who we don't particularly have warmed to so far.
No, Halbast, who's travelling with them, who's a Imperial Master of Ordnance, who trading is a very strong way to put it.
Yeah, I don't think you knew the trade occurred.
No, I think you thrust an orc at him, bludgeoning him with it until his hat fell off, and then you picked up the hat and left him with the orc. In Shanadar's mind, it's been a very civil arrangement.
Yes, and Shanadar is now, as he likes to call it, Hat Man.
Hat man. I think, in the words of Rosa Diaz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, if anything happened to Shanadar, I would kill everyone and then myself. He's my new favourite, and I'm not afraid to say it. When we last left, as I say, the group just got ashore in Camp Blackfen, and not only are the speakers around the camp continually warning them that they're in a naval orbital barrage target zone, but also the camp has fallen into disarray with looting guardsmen, parties of guardsmen apparently just fleeing into the forest, utter chaos. They were even fired upon as they came ashore, but thankfully managed to talk their way through it by having not only Lieutenant Commander Dupine, one of the high-ranking Imperial commanders, but also Commissar Vorgan with them. So, we finished the last episode just as Yelena's foot was about to hit the dock. So you go ashore. Talk to me about what you're doing while you're there.
Before we start, can I just ask, it's just occurred to me with the name of the game that we're playing, is the announcements giving how much time we do have?
Ah, it's a very good question. If you check your data slate there that you have with you, I'm not sure Shanadar's allowed to have one, but the crew get one, and you can see that you have between 4 and 5 hours left.
I just imagine you all pulling out data slates and Shanadar pulling out like an Etch-a-Sketch.
Just a piece of paper with a data slate drawn on it, and you're
just sitting there like, I look like you.
Yeah, so 4 and 5 hours. So you're still making reasonably good time, but obviously that includes you have to get
Off the planet.
well, you have to get. It's only the main area of that crater that's getting glass. So, but you're definitely still in the blast zone now, as those helpful safety messages are announcing. So yeah, like I say, it's a mess here. There's people going everywhere. There's clearly no law and order. And as you're walking through, you can see that there's panic-stricken guardsmen, and you're having to push through crowds to get anywhere. Commissar Vorgan isn't getting anywhere near his normal respect. People would usually be bowing out of his way, but he's having to elbow his way through the crowd, none too gently. Halbast, the Imperial official, who is quite officious in his own way, is again disgusted at having to muck it with the common soldiers. And Lieutenant Commander Dupine appears to be trying to give orders to all sorts of people around him, most of whom are in states of undress, fleeing about. So look, it's up to you. If you wanted to, you can definitely keep this entourage with you, or you could always try and make your way away from them if you think you'll have a quicker escape. The barge. This is the end. You've crossed widthways across the swamps. The barge could take you back into the swamps, but I don't think that's going to help you.
Yelena doesn't like these ranking officials, but she pushes past Hellbast, and speaks to the commissar. As we're wading our way through the masses. She says, "What's your plan from here, then?"
To the commissar?
Yep.
And the commissar's like, "I'm glad you asked. The lieutenant commander doesn't seem to be set. He's not asking any questions, so I'll take it upon myself as political officer." And at that moment, there's a guardsman fleeing past him with his sort of shirt undone and half undressed, and he just grabs him by the scruff of the neck, and he hauls him and he says, "Boy, who's the authority figure around here? Who's in charge of this rabble?" And you see this child, who must be just 18, look at Vorgan's eyes and then glance at the bolt pistol that's still holstered but unclipped, and looks back at him. He says, "So I think Supply Officer Boren is in charge, sir. He was quartermaster in charge of the camp. Beg your pardon, sir. I have duties to attend to." And Vorgan just sort of lowers him to the ground, looks him in the eye, and says, "See that you're about your duties, guardsman." And the guardsman throws sort of a half salute. It looks like in the days of madness, he's forgotten even how that goes. It's like a scene from Aguirre, The Wrath of God, the Werner Herzog classic from the 1970s about crossing a river. I recommend you check it out.
Highly recommend. If you ever want to see a man screaming at a monkey, can I recommend a G'day, The Wrath of God?
We'll go around the table with our Werner Herzog impressions, starting with Gordon.
No, thank you. I respect the man too much to try.
He
Very
simply
small, grey
respects
children
a
for
man
very good
too
small
much
grey,
to impersonate him.
Is it possible that this Imperium is doomed to failure and death? Like all endeavours of man. I can't do the deep register, but there we go, close enough. Anyway, if you don't know who Werner Herzog is, check out some of his films. He's fantastic. More importantly, back to the thing. So he tells you Petty Supply Officer Boren is in charge, and he points sort of vaguely in the direction of where the quartermaster hut would have been originally set up. And the commissar looks at you and he says, "I best stay with the lieutenant commander. See if you can sort out supplies for an exit from here. We'll be leaving shortly."
I turn to Shanadar and I say, "Follow me. Looks like we're off to see the QE."
I follow him. Her, sorry.
And as you're following, do you yell any particular things, or do you...
Shanadar!
I think from everyone's perspective, from Cole, you'd be walking at the back and you can see this giant head and shoulders above everyone and this lovely pointy purple hat just proceeding through the crowd like a guide arrow.
I feel comfortable amongst the rabble. We've seen so much already on our time on this moon. My flamer is now just slung across my back, and it's tank top, and just pushing my way through the group. Make just straight line.
As you leave the group, you see Jupine is trying to search out a Vox officer to get his message out, because clearly he's going to be trying to demand priority extraction. So him and Vorgan head off in one direction, and you head off to the quartermaster store, where you find Petty Supply Officer Boren. And Boren is like a slovenly mess. He looks like the kind of man who would have been running his petty empire even before madness fell over the camp. And he's frantically, with a small group assisting him, just piling supplies. And he's clearly sorting them by value and taking what looks to you like a stash to flee with as you walk into his warehouse. And as you open the door, he sort of springs up from his place and eyes the three of you. And you see him sort of sneer at you, Wegs, and you, Helena, and he then looks up at Shanadar, and his vision sort of keeps going up and up and up. And you see it almost go up all the way up to the tip of the hat and then sort of settle back down in his eyes, and this big visible gulp as he looks nervous and he's sweating and he's wearing a vest. And he's like, yes, can I help you?
You must be boring, because Vorgan's going to be thoroughly unimpressed when he sees how you look. But thankfully for you, my mate Shanadar here is going to help you carry all those supplies to where we need them.
He's like, thankfully for me, Vorgan's dead in the swamplands, love. I don't know if you've checked. So This is what the campers come to. You can't fault a man for taking a little nest egg for himself.
Well, your prayers to the Emperor were obviously heard because Vorgan has returned and he's outside the door with your CO and we're actually going to get off this moon.
And there's a big, like, visible gulp, and you can see that he's panicked here. So I would like one of you to just throw an intimidate test for me. I think I probably know the outcome. And I'm happy that whoever rolls it, you're going to get a +10 assist from each of your colleagues here.
Amazing. I don't have a boost to my intimidate.
I have a +20 to my intimidate.
Yes, makes
So I
sense.
think it might be you, and then there's a...
You sure it's not +21 because of the hat?
Because of the hat.
Well,
Surely.
look, I'll give you...
My liege.
There's 10 for Elena and Cole, both looking angry either side of you, and I'll give you an extra 5 for the hat because I'm so taken with it.
45 plus 22.
67.
67. 43. And I pass it. So I just lean down very, very slowly. You hear the creaking of the leather and the armor as I go in, and I just look at Boran, and I very quietly go, hot. And then I just lean back up and leave it there, I think.
I think in Shanadar's mind, that's the ultimate token of authority, I think, is that that's what he's getting
I'm
at.
showing him my hat.
Oh, yes.
Boran, of course, doesn't understand anything about the hat. All he knows is that a man, or a being literally twice his size, has just demanded assistance. So he, again, the big gulp, and he leans back until he's almost, like looking like he's in a limbo competition. And he's like, oh, yes, of course. You understand, just the Emperor's resources, making sure that the most vital doesn't fall into enemy hands. I've been loading them into a chimera, and he's frantically like tucking his shirt in as he talks and straightening his collar up, and he's signaling, doing the to his friends in the yard, like pulling on his shirt collar. Get your collars on. So he's convinced that what you've told him is true, that the commissar will be through the door any minute, and he walks you out to where you find a chimera APC style transport out there that's mostly loaded now with all kinds of, like, some of it's ammunition and things, but most of it's like food, and there's a few boxes of bearings and parts for machines, things that he clearly thinks he can on-sell. But there's enough room in there for certainly 5 or 6 people. He's probably just going to back away and leave you if you want to stay here with it, or just commandeer it and take it.
If we took the stuff out, how much extra room would we have?
Capacity's probably about 12 people, I'd say, in the back of the APC there. You'd be able to take your little entourage with you.
I've grown attached to Vorgan.
The 2 chief engineers and the medic. There's room
How are
for
you
them.
going to distract Hellbast?
Well, he's been semi-beaten to death by an orc, so he's probably easily duped. In fact,
We might be able to set up a comms link where he needs to provide a presentation over the radio or something and distract him. To high command.
Oh.
You want me to get the chief inspector?
Yeah.
All right, so you you step back outside and you work your way through the crowd. Are you all going? Are you going to leave? Are you going to leave someone with the transport?
I think we should leave someone with maybe
Leave me with it. And
Yeah, why don't you start unpacking all
I'll
the
just
extra
start moving the
supplies?
stuff out.
and given I'm the diplomatic one and you're the task-focused one, Helena,
Helena.
maybe I'll go back and schmooze with the brass. Yeah, if anything goes awry, at least you can guide.
I'm assisting Shanadar,
Shanadar.
and it looks like I'm trying to help, but I'm moving 1/10 of the items that he's moving. Like, you see me pick up a crate and go, oh yeah, he's unloading, and then all of a sudden Shanadar's lifting an enormous amount of stuff. So I'm not needed, but I'm still contributing.
But every now and then I'm tapping you, not meaning to be patronising, but patronising like, hey, we're working together.
No.
So you make your way back through the crowd, and it takes you a little while, but you find Vorgan is waiting outside of a sort of hut. He's got his bolt pistol out in his hand, and you look inside the little windows on the door. It's one of those old sort of Quonset huts type with a wooden door with the glass windows, and you can see Jupine is there on a Vox headset, and you can see he's emphatically yelling into this Vox while pointing. You can't quite make out what he's hearing, but Halbast is behind him, sort of, again, with his hands on his hips, looking utterly self-important, as if he's posing for a camera that isn't even there. You sort of signal to Vorgan, and he asks you, what's the situation with transport?
Well, we've got a APC we're loading up. We've got room for a select few. It seems heated in here. Who's yelling at who over what?
He sort of gives a little shake of his head, and you almost detect this little eye roll that he wouldn't quite give credit to, but just enough that you think it might be there. He says, yes, well, the Lieutenant Commander is insisting on raising for extract on the Vox net, despite the net being so crowded that no one can get on air. At the moment, the last coordination is going in for the naval strike. So there's data uplinks going with communication, coordinate information, constant traffic. He seems to think that if he yells at the radio technician loudly enough, he'll be able to cut through the God Emperor's jamming. So it's futility, to be frank, but I think we must let him have his turn.
How attached are you to our lovely commanders?
Well, obviously they're ordained in the sight of the God Emperor.
Obviously.
If
I were to suggest to you that the God Emperor was perhaps calling them home, but wasn't yet done with your role in this war, would you be happy to get the rest of the team together?
Or perhaps you could say that you are confident.
Sorry, you got a
Are
Vox.
you there?
Have you got a Vox thing to him, do you?
Sorry.
Come on, mate.
Shedar is actually an astropath. And he's
Allow
beaming
me
this into my
from
head.
the inside of an APC.
Get back in your box,
I was just like,
Shanadar.
Wegs, yeah, okay.
You might be beloved, but not that much.
I was like, I have the perfect logical argument that could.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, I know. What a shame. I'm
Okay,
lifting heavy
So
stuff.
the commissar looks you up and down and he says, by the Emperor, you Katachani don't mess around, do you? He said, I've always liked your regiment. I was all hoping to get assigned to one, but can't stand the bugs, you know. Don't want to spend any time in the jungle. He said, you're damn good fellows. He said, I'm understanding exactly what you're going for here, but I would have to say it would represent a dereliction of my duty to not take the Lieutenant Commander with me. Woe be upon me. But he's clearly, again, he's got that quirk of a smile at the corner of his mouth. He's clearly...
We're both on the same.
he's not emotionally invested, let's say, despite his sense of duty.
Well, from one Imperial lawman to another, when they're done, what say we get our team together and get the hell out of Dodge?
So when you're on your way back, and you as you walk past a little side alley there, you see all sorts of scenes. You know, you see people clearly with recent murder victims and with stealing items, and the camp is just madness. The occasional crack of las fire and flames spew up at one point from a distant point in the camp, but you don't know what it is, and you can still hear that
That'd be
ongoing.
Felina again.
Yeah.
There's a Wilhelm scream in the background.
Yeah, that's right. Two guys come through carrying a pane of glass, and someone runs through it. But you can hear, the continual crack of artillery bombardment. You're right. You're not far. You're a few kilometres from the firebase now, so it's almost overwhelming. And that constant scream of anti-aircraft fire and orc bombers has never let up. You get back to the warehouse there, and they're just finishing emptying out the back of the APC. When you can tell them about your encounter with the commissar.
How'd you go with the brass?
Couldn't find him. Real shame. No. I like the cut of the commissar's jib. I want to take him with us. Same goes for your friends, the engineers and the medic. Sadly, it does mean that if we want to take them, we're going to need to take the brass as well.
We were ready for the disappointing news, which is why we've cleared out the APC
Yeah.
of all the non-perishables.
Maybe we take the APC, go scoot around to the hut, pick them up, and then get down to this bridge.
So yeah, to get away, the final step of getting away from the bombardment zone there is getting from the edge of the swamp essentially to the edge of the river, where there's that Mechanicus-built bridge that covers across into the firebase. So it's not far. It's fairly rough terrain on foot, so it's probably good that you have a transport.
This week on YouTube, action is in the cards as your favourite channel, Doorhammer, returns. You already know how it works. We go door to door of random houses and challenge the homeowners to competitive games of Warhammer 40,000. I'm your host, Chad McDingles, and I'm about to knock on the first door.
Hello?
Are you ready to play some 40k?
I'm sorry, no one lives here by that name.
Sounds like a forfeit to me. Your boy Chad starts the day at 1-0. Let's go, people. On to the next house now.
Hello there, nice young man. Can I offer you some?
I'm here to offer you, at best, 10 points in our game, and if your models are painted to a satisfactory standard.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Get wrecked, Gladys! Objective secured. That's 100 points to the man, Chad. 2-0, and we ain't stopping now.
Hey, I know you. You're that clown off the internet. Well, I'm Todd Daniels. I happen to play 40k, and I'm currently ranked 5th in the world.
No one was home at this address, so you know what that means. The Doctor of Pain, Chad McDiggles MD, walks it in to be 3-0 again today, and I'll see you losers next week. Well, howdy there, fellow humanoid friend. Do you have the same problem as me? That problem being surplus of biological material due to overpopulation? Well, that doesn't need to be the problem, not anymore. Now, thanks to Leviaclean, it's as simple as logging onto your data slate using your delicious fingers and entering the coordinates of the location without too much surplus biological material, and Leviaclean will do the rest. Help us to triage your order by using our simple 1 to 10 rating scale to identify how tasty you would describe your population to be. Don't make it weird. Dial today.
Flashing Badger.
So as you're sort of waiting for the brass to turn up, and you've offloaded this vehicle, you step outside and you hear a scream, like a squeal from around the corner. And one of you just sticks your head around the corner, and you see this young officer of the 17th, the Scintillans, who's all poshed up, who's got a group lined up that he's trying to string up. He's got them all with their hands tied behind their back, and he has them all a noose on their necks, and he's got them in a queue, and he has a stool under the first one who's standing on the edge, and he's screaming at them while he's pointing in their faces. And these are former occupants of the planet, the local populace who live nearby and who weren't even affected by Imperial operations in the area until, of course, this massive orc influx has begun. So these are farming people that have lived peaceful, happy lives here. And he's screaming, spit's flying from his mouth, he's red in the face. He looks young, and he's clearly very impassioned about this. And as you turn the corner, you can see he's just about to kick the stool when the group look at you, and they can see that your uniforms don't match that super posh version of the 17th uniform, and they're instantly calling to you for help.
I've got an idea. Coley, I can set you up for a moment of glory if you like.
Did someone say a moment of glory? Go on, sir.
I fire up the APC and I say to Coley, you got your knife?
Sure do.
You're gonna need it, jump on the roof. And I begin driving to line them up so that as I drive into the row of people, they would be coming up onto the roof of the APC so that Coley would be able to cut them loose one by one, and they'd come free onto the top of the APC. With my mate Shanadar marching beside the tank to make it effectively 2 tanks passing through.
The law of physics will bow down to the law of the Imperium, and this will work. This will work.
So you drive the APC in, and the beautiful sloped front of the APC is perfect just to scoop the people up. And as they're reaching the sort of the height of the tension of the noose, you're just cutting through each rope as you go.
They go onto the tracks.
Oh God! Oh. And the 17th officer goes, "Oh well, good show. Yes, I hadn't thought of that."
Someone take her name.
No, he's still furious,
I actually
just screaming.
I can't help myself. As soon as the last farmer is safely stowed on the roof racks, I
Stacked like cordwood.
Yeah.
Little pyramid of farmers.
I dismount and march over to this so-called officer of Imperial Justice.
So as you march up to him, this a pack of about 5 or 6 guardsmen comes around the corner, all dressed the same as him, and they're all sort of laughing and doing this, and they look in horror at the civilians being free, and they look at you standing next to him. And at the moment, I suppose all they can see is an APC idling. They don't actually know who's behind the wheel or anything. And Shanadar's standing next to it, but they come striding over to you. You know, what the bally blazes do you mean by this? I'll have your name.
Not my name. I want answers as to what this... I don't swear because I'm an Imperial lawman, but this so-and-so was doing, this feffing excuse for a officer of Scintilla was doing with these poor farmers.
So this officer is like still like red-faced, raging, just spittle flying, and he's doing like finger in chest to you, even though he's only sort of up to you. Half a head shorter than you, his finger in chest. I'll have you know, those men were to be executed. They're farmers, they're supplying information and comfort to the enemy. They're disgusting. You've come in here. What authority do you have? I'll have you. You'll be next on the gallows. We'll hang the feffing lot of them.
I've still got the combat knife in my hand, and I will execute this, and I drive it up under his jaw through the top of his head.
What are you doing?
We had such a good round.
Oh, no. All right. Oh, boy.
Your
Oh,
bloodlust.
And the other...
He cracked.
So he crumbles, obviously, to the ground, and thankfully he sort of got his back to the other six, so all they see is him fall over. But as soon as he falls over, they break into a run towards you.
I sort of look at you as you
Look
study.
how tough you are with Shanadar
No,
next
no.
to the APC.
I have a special talent, a 2-weapon wielder. As a full action in melee combat, I may make one standard attack with my handheld combat shotgun and one attack with my combat knife.
Oof.
So I think I've figured out what I did with my combat knife. I now have a free move. I'm going to go on a limb and guess I'm in combat.
So your plan is you're going to be firing at these.
Well, I've drawn up.
Four officers.
I've drawn
Yep.
my shotgun.
Yep.
Shut it up.
At the. Do you,
And I
do you,
say-
do you let that round go? Or
So
no?
no. So the first one that comes towards me has a shotgun pointed at me. I said, "This can end here, or it can end with you all dead. Walk away."
Anyone else want to win a prize?
So next shot at the title. Almost that exact moment. At the moment that this body has crumpled to the floor, everything's happened very quickly, and he's almost within 3 or 4 meters of the end of your shotgun. You see or you hear from behind the end of the street the big pistol cocking sound of a bolt pistol being racked, and the single round goes in the air. The noise is deafening, echoing in this narrow alley that's only the imperial unit of measurement, I think, is 1 APC plus 1 Ogren wide. It's almost precisely that wide. The noise is deafening, and the whole group, including you, sort of lean out to see Vorgan standing there, and he says, "Well, this appears to be a rabble in contravention of Section 26 of the Discipline Code. Summary execution is the sentence. I see you've met my authorized lieutenant. Would you like to assume the position?" And this group of officers immediately snap to attention and, of course, are absolutely petrified. A short conversation takes place, which is very, very one-sided. It's essentially him screaming and yelling. You hear the words, "the Emperor's justice," "righteous fury," "summary execution," all of these strung together in different combinations. And every now and then, Shanadar will taps his hat and says, "Hatman, Shanadar." And the commissar says, being quite fond of him, the commissar will look at him and say, "Quite."
There is so much respect.
"Well done, that man." And at one point, one of the officers sneers at him because, of course, they've got no respect for you, and he says, "This abhuman is more human than you will ever be. The Emperor will smile on him." And Shanadar's, a single tear rolling down. And of course, so the group scurries out. And I think the commissar has realised it's counterproductive to execute 5 in a city of 500 that's going crazy. So they scamper out. And Lieutenant Commander Dupin comes in with his, his strut. And as he walks in, "Commissar, step over there. We're going to get into the back of this. You men, get into that APC. This APC." And you've already got the door. It's abundantly clear that's what was happening. But even if you're already doing it, he has to order you. And last coming up is Halbast, hands behind his back, walking up. And you see him sort of loathingly looking at the hat on top of Shanadar's head. And Shanadar's waving at him enthusiastically.
You love him.
Pointing at the hat.
Forrest Gump waving at him, pointing at his
He
hat.
can't stand you, but you're a big fan of his.
And as he walks up to you. And again, he doesn't appear to recognise that you're the same people he's dealt with before. I don't think he might have face blindness, or he might just be so contemptuous. But he walks up to you and he says, Who's this man lying on the ground here? Take his name. The commissar will see to this. Take that man's name.
Right away, sir. Right away.
And he sort of nods and looks quite impressed at you and climbs into the back of the APC and
I haven't even made a pretense of getting anybody's name.
No.
I just told him that I'm not going to.
Yes, sir, will do. Yep. No, very reasonable. And they all scurry into the back of the APC, and you get into the sort of driver's compartment. And
Can I climb out of the driver's compartment and tap in one of the two engineers to take over from me as the driver?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we do that.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
call. I'm also.
I don't think I'm going to be good at driving an
Am I
APC.
inside or am I?
Where would you like to be?
Well, if I could fit inside comfortably with the others,
I think you could fit inside very uncomfortably.
though probably being on the roof might be helpful.
I'd happily sit on top of one of the sets of tracks opposite to you. We go one side each. on
Yeah, I'll
the
do
PC.
that.
Okay.
I'll do that.
You all three going to run the roof?
I've been unstacking the farmers from the roof
Oh,
racks.
yeah. Plus 10
They've
farmers.
just
I
jumped
like
off and
you're not
scurried.
even cutting their ropes, you're just rolling them off the back as you proceed down the street, like evenly
into a
spacing
swamp.
them.
Like,
What's the
save these
storage
people.
capacity of this model?
Were they even grateful?
No, they're great. In fact, they're so grateful that they point out to you a better route. You were going to take the main highway, which is now, it looks like, Operation Market Garden, all the tanks bogged in on the side of the road, and one's broken down at the front, which has backed the entire column up, and the sides of the road are so sunken in the swamps that there's this horrible morass. So they point out to you, like a farmer's track that's on solid ground, because obviously the natives, they have this way of, they point you down this, which gives you a direct shot, comes out near the base of the Mechanicus Bridge. If you're happy to leave camp, you can leave now in the APC.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if Ramirez would know Operation Market Garden, but I'm otherwise happy to leave.
You know how it is in
Ancient Terran myth.
Yeah, you know how it's in 40k, they're like, this is a story from a Shakespeare. And then they just use a chunk of Shakespeare. So we'll do the same. We'll be like, Operation Market Garden, conducted on the planet of Earth. Right, so you make your way out, and it's a short and reasonably uneventful drive that gets you to the end of the Mechanicus Bridge. When you get there, or as you're approaching, you can finally see the Fallow River stretching out ahead, and you know this is like the edge of the blast zone. This is where safety lies. You're exiting from the swamp mist. You can see the ruins of Highbridge City on the far side of the bridge, and now Firebase Longtooth is essentially in its place, or slightly close. It would have been in the suburbs, and now it's just a smouldering ruin. The glory of Imperial liberation. But there's these, Firebase Longtooth is like a proper reinforced, high-walled. It's like, the bases they use in Starship Troopers when they're shooting at the bugs? It's a bit like them, like big, proper, high turreted walls. It's a very defensible position. And you can see, though, when the bridge comes into view, that the forward elements of that Orc assault force you saw, they're pushing already across the bridge. The assault is continuing from this bank to the other, and there's Orcs wading in, completely regardless of their own safety and the fact that it's a very, very wide river, and there's Orc upon Orc getting cut down as they cross the bridge. And as you get closer, you realise that a looted Lehman Russ tank is leading the charge here. So it's smoking and it's got bits bolted onto it and it's rabble, but this is the standard tank of the Imperial Guard, Fitz. If you think like a Sherman tank in World War II, you won't be far wrong. It's been taken over and there's an Orc, a giant Orc, the likes of which you've never seen on top. He's screaming and yelling, and you think from your briefing packs that this is probably none other than Nesgit Slymoon, who is one of the local war bosses who is leading this assault on human forces. The tank, even though there's smoke and noise coming from it, it's not actually rumbling. It's sat there on the bridge, and fire's still coming out of its cupola turrets and everything, but it's not rolling. You can hear the noise of like gears engaging, echoing across the water, even above the bolter fire and everything, but I don't know. I think Orc mechanical skill might have failed them. So you just emerge from the tree line there and see this river and this bridge stretching in front of you, still in this APC.
And how many Orcs, you should say?
Lots.
A horde.
A horde.
I take this opportunity, because it's very loud, the APC as it's rumbling along. I bang just on the hull to catch Shanadar's attention. And with my deck of cards that I have on me, I take out the Ace of Spades, which has the picture of Nesgit Sly Moon on it.
Yeah.
And just do the tap tap and then point at the Lehman Russ.
And from inside, as soon as you bang on the hull, you hear, "Who's that banging out there? I'll have that man's name." God, I hate him.
You made him up.
On to make it.
I'm better qualified to hate him than any of you. I know what's in his head.
That man's name.
So he's, and you can see that at the far end of the bridge, on the opposite side, is like a proper squat concrete pillbox bunker that's firing. There's bolters firing from each opening, and you know from Imperial doctrine that this would be where the detonation charges for the bridge would be. This would be the place that would cause the cut-off, and you can see that the orcs are surging towards it as well, presumably just because they think it's the place where the best fight's going to be. Who knows, with orc war bosses they can be surprisingly cunning. So what, you haven't been spotted yet, you're not engaged in the fight yet.
This is difficult. I don't think we want to be engaged in this fight. There's too many. But
I agree. We just need to cover ground and get to safety.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I love a
question
fight, but that's an endless fight.
That's a suicide mission.
And time is a wasted, and this place is about to be nuked. The only question will be is if we hit the bridge, if we don't go for the detonation setup, and the orcs hit it, are they going to detonate it while we're sitting pretty on it?
I would if I was them.
And as you hear the clunk clunk and the of the rear door coming down, and Vorgan sort of hands hook over the top, and he pulls himself up so his head and shoulders above the back. He says, "What have we seen? What do we have?"
I've got eyes on Nesgit Sly Moon. He's in your looted Lehman Russ at your 2 o'clock. And what I can see is an endless horde. It's coming in towards the bridge. From my own estimation, I'd say we're neck on neck pace at the moment.
Yeah, would we get to the bridge before them?
I think you'd probably end up in a rolling fight across the bridge. You certainly wouldn't make it clean in front of them.
So I'm just sort of giving him that information for him to make an assessment.
Vorgan's obviously an experienced officer. Vorgan says, "Well, sounds to me like we should probably use some of the resources at our command. See if the Vox works. And see if one of you wants to try and fire up the Vox. Or speak to... You've got your siege engineer friends there who are probably technical people.
I reckon our hatch is open at the moment, and if not, I've opened it so I can communicate with Cole. The Commissar said, fire up the Vox, we're going to try something. If you want to give it a whirl.
Yep. I press the button and it goes... Well, seems to be working to me.
And when you try and transmit, there's this... that's technical noise. And one of the siege engineers says, "The Vox is working, sir. We've got uplink signal. It's working perfectly. We'll just need to get it up to high ground. If we get it slightly higher, we'll be able to get on FleetNet." And Halbast in the back says, "FleetNet? I think you'll find FleetNet is my domain. I have the naval codes to call in aerial strikes, not you. So if you get me to high ground, I will save the day and call in FleetNet."
I'm up on top, so I have a look around 360 and I try and make an assessment of my surroundings so I can find some suitable high ground.
Sure. So a short distance away, not on the road you came in on, but in the same sort of vague direction, there's a high ground, a slight hill, and on the top is an Imperial chapel that appears to be from where you are in ruins. It looks like it's smoking. Looks like it's been the target of orc pillaging. You can, from what you can see a track snaking down the hill. It looks like it's a very short walk, or you may even be able to get the APC up there if you've got a skilled driver.
I lean over the front of the APC so I'm upside down like I'm about to do the Spider-Man kiss, and I look through the slat.
The driver's slit?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I go, "Ginger beer, how good are you? Do you reckon you can get us up that narrow track to the chapel?"
Lamina, who's the one who was telling you about fuel engine induction and all that sort of stuff, who's a bit of a sort of fangirl of yours, is...
Not surprised.
She's like, "Oh, absolutely." She's like, we drive these all the time. We drive the crane versions. They're much harder. This is easy. Let me tell you a little bit about the difference. This thing only has, and just launches into this technical dark. Instantly, Yelena just disappears back from the driver's slit, and a few seconds pass, and then you feel the vehicle clunking into gear, and it lurches off again. and directs off towards the hill. A few minutes go by, you mount this vehicle. It's a bit of a... They're doing a lot of the stopping and pivoting on one track thing, so it's a very uncomfortable ride. And every now and then you can hear the people in the back like a bong as they all get thrown to one side. And, you know, on about the third of these you hear, I'll have that man's name.
I'll have that driver's name.
And finally it gets, and it sort of crests, it does the big thing where it looks like it might tip over backwards and then thumps into these ruins of this Imperial Chapel. And as soon as it comes to a stop, you don't even have a chance to bang on the hatch. You get the reverse bang on the hatch, and it flings open from inside. And Lamina says, "Oh, we've got naval net. You want to get the shirt on it?" And it's up to you if you want to get him talking, or if you want to try and talk yourself.
Are we trying to get him to call in a strike on that horde there?
Oh, you'd certainly try and call it in on Nesgit.
Yeah.
My experience with the orcs is you take out the war boss and they'll usually fight amongst themselves for next to take over.
Commissar Vorgan comes out, and again, as he comes out, he looks at you and he does the sort of like the head shake back before, and out comes Lieutenant Commander Dupine. He says, "You seek higher ground. We'll get this vehicle up to higher ground to get on the naval net, and I'll get you to stand over here. And what we need to do is get an airstrike in on the enemy. I'll see if I can get on the naval net." And he's giving all these orders that are absolutely everything you've already done so far. And following him
brilliant
is
thinking, sir.
Halbast, the full sycophant, nodding and smiling and going, "Oh yes, that's very good, Jupi. Well, good, very good. This is exactly what we did at the Skolam. Very well done. A good pal of mine, Jupi." And he's telling this to all of you. And again, as he walks past, there's just that sort of sidelong glance up at his hat and a little head shake. But he hasn't raised it. He's clearly not brave enough. And walks around the front, and he gets handed the radio, earpiece out of the window, and you hear him, "Halbast. No, Halbast. H-A," and just laying out his credentials for them, and clearly they don't know who he is, but he finally gives out his series of code, and he does the old like Crimson Tide thing where they break open and there's the code, and I concur. So it's all very official. He says, "Watch this," and does the old knuckle crack, and sure enough,
Watch this shot.
yeah, now watch this drive.
Watch this shot. That's it. Yeah, that was it. Sorry.
About 45 seconds later, you hear this, and then there's this boom, this absolute shockwave expanding out, and even from where you are, you can feel like droplets of water hitting your face from the impact, and the far end of the bridge, the road just in the far, and the dirt near the far end of the ridge just disappears, including the Lehman Russ that Nesgit was standing on top of, pointing at it. And
Ladies and gentlemen,
we
got him.
after Halbast has finished on the radio, he hands it. He says, "Oh, Jupi, you have a turn, Jupi." And Jupi gets on the radio and he says, "Yes, this is Lieutenant Commander Dupine. Yes, Dupine. Yes, Supreme Commander." He says, "I'll have you send out a squad of men, please." And you can see a few minutes go by, and you see sallying forth from the base is this I don't know what the units of measurement are, but a group of Imperial Guardsmen comes out, 30 or 40, come out and start sweeping the orc survivors. But as Helena said, the morale appears to have broken the second that the hand of the God Emperor reached down from orbit and destroyed this tank. They're all falling back in disarray, and this cleanup squad is coming. So from where you are, you can see that it looks like virtually clear passage now.
I think we just get down there.
What I'd love in this moment is, even though Halbast has delivered all of this over the Vox, we've done that old trick where we've actually handed him a Vox with no comms.
Oh, yes.
Or it's comms to one of us sitting on the hull replying.
Oh, yeah,
and it sort
no
of
worries,
pans
Halbast,
across,
yeah.
and Commissar Vorgan is off to the side calling.
He's on the actual Vox. Yeah, I love it. He's actually got the code book sitting there. And
yes, and when you work it all out, Halbast was just using our coordinates, and in theory would have called the strike
on yours. Yeah, you see him turn. I reckon it would be about the third time he turned the map that the Commissar said, "I say, sir, let me just double check you're working there," and has just taken the map and walked away. And
giving him the bubblegum radio.
That's right. It squeaks every time he pushes a button.
It's got that thing you pull out, and it's like
class.
points at the pictures. It counts.
Sorry.
Yeah, One of the buttons makes bubbles come out of it, but he hasn't realised. Yeah, no, fantastic. I love that. So yeah, Commissar Vorgan, as I think we can all agree, has proven himself to be a rather decent fellow. And sure enough, so this crew sally forth. So when it comes time now to pack everyone back in and head back down there, bear in mind it's walkable. Anyone you leave behind could surely find their way. It's entirely up to you what you do, but you've got your friends are still in the APC if you want to try and make a quick exit and leave them behind.
We've come this far.
I'd say we stick together.
I'd say we stick together.
Yeah.
All right, so you pile them back in, of course, as Helena's doing her sort of impatient, just like arm rolling over, pointing into the back. And as Dupine's walking, he's going, yes, you climb in there, you sit there, you climb in, you do this. And Halbast is
That's
saying
my
behind,
chair.
Halbast is going, but I wanted to sit in the middle. And Dupine's saying, well, I say, Halby, you were always like this at boarding school, you were a damnable bore. And they're having sort of a quarrel between the two of them as they go.
Can I do again the ambulance on their back once the last person's in, and then I jump onto the tracks?
Yeah, clambering up just the slowly moving treads, you haul yourself up.
Just pick you up and I'll put you on.
Oh, even better.
And you can hear from inside, you can hear Tor and Lamina are just having the time of their life driving this thing. They think it's fantastic. They get to have a go. And I say, Tor, this one's got the new catalytic converter. Does it, Lamina? That's fantastic.
Did you know when catalytic converters were invented? They were invented back in 19...
Yeah, exactly.
Bluetooth connectivity.
That's right. They think it's fantastic. Oh, CarPlay, fantastic. So the APC again trundles down this sort of perilous, rocky descent back to the level ground and descends into this 6-foot deep crater and back up the other side and crosses the bridge. As you make your way over, you see the gates of the firebase slowly coming open, and as soon as you get inside, this officer from the 17th there is all resplendent in his uniform, and he comes running over, and as the APC hauls to a stop, he pulls himself up. He says, Katachan, is it? Who's on board with you? What is it? Who is this? And the back door comes down, and Commissar Vorgan just sort of gets out and leans and just taps his commissariat hat and gives him the international symbol for shoe off. Just gives him a little... a little bit of a waving hand. Feth off there. Be a good chap and feth off. But you carry on, and the very senior officer from the 233rd meets you there and says, thank the Emperor. You made it just in time. It seems the orcs have broken through to the south. HQ's extending the barrage zone. We're falling back. This whole area is marked as being inside the blast radius. They're going to bombard the highlands. We're going to have to reach the new defensive lines. We've got about 6 hours. And that's where your adventure concludes.
Yay!
Welcome to life in the Guard.
I was preparing my second and my third and my fourth character. I didn't think we were going to make it.
It's just...
I just like in the background, there's like Vorgan jumps out and points to his commissar hat and goes, "Feth off." And I just would like the image of Shanadar on top of the ABC, mimicking him going,
Yes.
hat.
At first,
So powerful hat.
at first you're like blurred out, you're not in focus, and then it suddenly comes in like he's now blurred and you're pointing at your
I
hat.
understand how military rank structure works. I have a hat too.
I like that Shanadar will carry that forward. He'll be on board a ship going to his next world and walking in and my bunk hat. Quite right.
He has no concept of his size, that people are doing everything because he's so intimidating. Just like this
he
hat,
thinks
respect
it's that.
hat.
This is a fantastic...
have much power.
Yeah.
This hat make you do things.
This hat cost 3 orcs. Fantastic. All right.
Brilliant.
So that's the end of the adventure. Thank you very much for playing. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves.
Thank you for hosting that.
Thank
That
you
was
for
amazing.
hosting that. That was very... I love the imagery on it. It was very good.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried that everyone sort of blurred into the same voice there, so I'm worried that you...
I did notice that all the officers did eventually blur in. Like
Yeah.
That their voice, especially the dickhead ones,
Yeah. they
turned
all-
into those upper crust World War I British officers
This
that
is-
sent them over the top.
You really didn't want us to like them.
No, this is the Australian legacy, isn't it? Of British officers. The World War One legacy is no, they're not rum fellows. So look, I apologise if you couldn't tell the characters apart. I think what we would like to do is just do a quick. I always like doing a quick wrap up of where characters go from here, and obviously the regiment is going to get pushed back again and again and again, and you'll be deployed together for a long time. And the usual end to a career in the Guard is your death in heroic circumstances. So you can keep it as grim or as happy as you can. This has been a reasonably happy excursion of the world of 40k. So, Wegs, would you like to go first and tell us about Cole and his future?
Yes, Cole stays with the Catachan jungle fighters, deployment to deployment, but eventually dons the commissariat hat and cloak himself and continues bringing out the best in his squads, his platoons, holding them to the high standards that he set for himself, learning at the feet, the tutelage of one Vorgan.
Oh, fantastic. So he's found the sane arm of the commissariat to find a calling in.
Yes.
Fantastic. Because I know in the character notes we discussed before the session, you talked about he'd thought about the commissariat, but was worried that it was a sort of domain of madmen who are bloodthirsty. So
yes,
I'm glad he's had his view.
He's found the way to balance mercy and justice. He's always enriched, and it warms his heart on those cold nights when he reflects on the time he administered imperial justice by driving his combat knife up through the head of
in a tremendously rash move that nobody else enjoyed, but still, I think that's
the legend that they talk about in the officers' mess before you walk in. About I heard a rumor once that he drove his knife through someone else's chin because they looked at him funny.
The legend's grown over time. He's the most.
At the end of the day, you slaughtered 19 people with a toothpick.
True. Yeah.
But you know what? Everyone's on their best behaviour when I'm around. That's for sure.
Oh, we come across to Yelena.
Do that.
Yelena loves the Catachan, even though she never expresses it. So she doesn't leave. She's forever in the regiment. And she's the type that she still sits in the corner on her own, cleaning her weaponry. But she is the subject of urban legends. That people, I can hear them. They don't think I can hear them, but they're down the hallway, the pair of them, when they see me, and they go, oh, that's Yelena. And there'll be some urban legend about how they've heard of some list that I'm on somewhere where my name is written 8 times, marked for
death.
Court-martial and then sentencing for death.
Everyone's so scared of you.
Yeah, but everyone's too afraid to approach me. I will never climb rank. I will forever just be a soldier in the guard.
Do you mind if I leave Shanadar to the end, because he's my favourite?
Sure.
I'll just give you the quick. Lieutenant Commander Dupine and Halbast, you'll be very sorry to hear. Dupine was deployed to a different regiment after the stunning success of the Scintillan 17th to achieve absolutely nothing. It was marked by command that perhaps their leadership needed a change. So he was sent to a Krieg regiment to be their leadership. And the life expectancy there was something like 2.5 hours on the battlefront. But he managed to set a new record within 7 or 8 minutes of being at the front. He received 7 to 8 rounds and was unfortunately killed. He was the recipient of a Medal of Valor, and it was never discussed that all the rounds were in his back.
There it is. I was waiting for it.
And Halbast had continued to have a reputation. Every time he went on a Valkyrie tour, there was always hope that this would be his last one. And in a stunning turn of events, again, on his last tour over an area to be bombarded, the pilots dropped him off and just said that they must have forgotten to pick him up.
You were going to say he's further promoted. He's gone on to incredible
He's
success.
now a master of arms. No, I think at some point he will have tried to play the game with some Valkyrie pilot who's had enough and who's just lifted off. He lifted off, tapping his headset as he's waiting. Going, I'm sorry, I can't hear you, sir. You're not plugged into the network. We'll come back for you shortly. 4 to 6 hours should do it. And just left him on the York front lines. And Vorgan we know about. Vorgan went to live happily ever after in tutelage at the commissariat school there with his new apprentice. So, Shanadar, my beloved, how are you?
I'm good. I'm torn between a happy ending or a Shanadar's love for the Catachan jungle fighters is born and bred into him genetically. So he would want to hang around there. But I did have, if Vorgan was not to, I had visions that despite it being highly irregular, he ended up spending the rest of his days following Vorgan around as sort of like an unofficial bodyguard / manservant type thing.
There's precedent for it. It's almost part of the retinue.
Exactly. And it was always, the thing of stuff and legend that this giant hulking mass would follow Vorgan around, defending him, protecting him, doing his bidding, all the while wearing a very unusual
I like the idea as well that the respect goes so far that Vorgan would be, Shanadar, I say, old fellow, we're going to have to deal with this. I was thinking of doing a restructure in accordance with Section 16. What do you think? And Shanadar goes, hat. And Morgan's like, jolly good. I hadn't considered that. Thank you, old boy. Come with me. It's just he sort of humours him because he finds him quite charming.
He introduces you to people as his driver.
Yeah, exactly like that.
And they give you one of those little steering wheels when they're in a thing. They're like, beeper, beeper.
Yeah, just with unfettering loyalty, just followed him around for the rest of his days, protecting him, looking after him, and loving him.
And like someone walks the other way in a corridor and you grab their lunch off them and just be like, lunch for Vorgan? And he's like, I've eaten, chap.
Jolly good. We have the officers' mess. And he's
put like their shoulder out. Like,
I like Shanadar's just standing outside the door to the officers' mess and he's bringing him out a tray. Here you are, old boy. Sorry you have to stay out here. Shanadar, corridor, happy.
Yeah, everyone knows where Vorgan is because Shanadar's sitting outside the door.
He's got the officers' mess to himself because no one can get inside. Oh, I love it. Who says 40k can't have happy endings? Right. Well, if no one's got any other business, I think that ends our adventure. Thank you very much for listening to us. Thank you for playing, guys. I've really enjoyed myself. I hope you have too.
Absolutely.
Thoroughly.
that was so good.
Shanadar!
If you followed us this far, thank you very much. If this is your first adventure with us, we're going to have more to come in all kinds of different systems. If you can jump on and give us a review for the podcast, that helps us an awful lot with visibility. Most importantly, for me, is on the Discord. Jump on there. We're pretty active on it. We've got a channel all about what's going on in the pod and what's coming up. And you can, we're going to have some votes there. You can give us advice. What's your favorite RPG? What do you like? What do you not like?
And it's important to mention there as well, this was Warhammer 40k, and a lot of the painting channel is 40k.
Absolutely.
But the RPG podcast isn't going to be that. So we are going to dabble in other systems. There's going to be fantasy style. There's going to be like the raccoons racing. So when you do pitch ideas to us, step outside our comfort zone of 40k and let's find some really fun universes and themes that we can tackle as well. Because that's what this podcast will be about.
But on that note, the next thing that we're going to be playing is Call of Cthulhu. It's a bit of a classic of the genre. We're going to be playing a one-shot scenario in that. Who knows what's next? You'll have to join us and find out. As I said, jump on the Discord. Let us know what you'd like to hear. Leave us a review. I've been Gordon.
I've been Mike, and I'm going to do a reverse plug. And if you found the podcast but didn't know that we had a YouTube channel, head across to Flashing Badger Painting, where we do miniature hobbying and painting.
Fitz, thanks for being here.
I've been Fitz. I've thoroughly enjoyed this one and deep diving into 40k for this past week. It's been
And I'd like to a special shout out to Fitz. This is his first exposure to the 40k universe, and he has done 2 weeks of prep, learning things, and he came in making jokes about Primarchs and all sort of stuff. So he's put in more miles for this than anyone. So
Sure has.
thank you, Fitz. We appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you from Wegs. As always, gentlemen, been an absolute pleasure. Appreciate being a part of this.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here. We'll catch you next time.
See you next week, guys.
Auf Wiedersehen. From your trusted friends at Inquisitech Toys, announcing a brand new collectible set of action figures, all 9 Primarchs. Yes, that's right, 9 action figures, one for each of the Primarchs, and absolutely no more. All 9 favourites are represented here, 9 approved by the Inquisition, and absolutely no others. This isn't just a cheap excuse to pry you away from your hard-earned Imperial credits. No, sir. If you don't buy these action figures, it means you hate the Emperor and are actively second-guessing his rule. First up in the collection, we've got the current Imperial Regent, the Avenging Sun himself, Rabute Gilliman.
Imperial capital gains tithes, a semi-voluntary tax, paid on any income that is due when you sell any asset, such as shares or property, and make a profit. It is treated as part of your overall imperial income, so the amount of tax you pay depends on which tax bracket is relevant to you. This tax is typically reduced by 50% when you have owned the asset for more than 12 months, and there are some exemptions. For example, you don't need to pay CGT when selling your family's mortal remains.
And now everybody's favourite sneaky raven boy, Korax.
I'm so dark and sneaky.
And let's not forget your friendly neighbourhood flame-obsessed lizard cosplayer, Vulcan.
Fire!
And here's Mr. Personality himself, the Praetorian of Terror, Rogel Dawn.
I am a wall, like a wall. Yes.
Then there's some other forgettable ones. We'll finish with Sanguinius, the literal angel. I'm gonna break character here for a minute. If anyone dares mock Sanguinius, I'll be having stern words with them. He's the greatest goddamn hero of the entire Imperium. Any scorn towards him, you know what, this is bordering on heresy. End the recording. End it. End it.
Flashing Badger.
Mike here. You know the goofy pretend ads that you hear midway through these episodes from the four of us? Well, you're able to access the complete filmed table reads of these ads at our channel's Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you unlock all of the podcast and painting channel perks and exclusives, including, these TV commercials, with bloopers and outtakes as we surprise one another with revealing them. You can head across now to our Patreon from the link in the podcast description and check it out for yourself. Thanks, and I'll see you there.
Flashing Badger. Alright. Flashing Badger.